like to turn the podium over to the director, the president of the North Carolina Biofuel Center, Mr. Stephen Burke.
Driving here today from Hillsborough, I saw everything that informs our gathering today. I saw the land, which is really all we have and what we value so much, and it's good land here. I saw communities full, I think, of will and purpose, doing all right, in some cases in need of some economic bolstering. I believe I saw a military jet fly over. That didn't bring you here, did it?
No, sir.
I saw crops in the ground. I saw trees. I also passed the mill pond, which reminds us that in this very town of Trenton, there's a history of taking a natural resource and turning it purposefully into technology to yield economic gain. And I also noted that to drive here from Hillsborough required 12 gallons of gasoline, which for those of you all who relish numbers is 0.00000000124th of the 5.6 billion gallons of liquid fuels that North Carolinians use on their roads driving to Trenton and other places every year. I will return to that. Forgive me, I'm now going to do the most alarming component of a talk in a meeting, which is we have to do our obligatory hand-raising moment. How many of us drove here today with vehicles in which we had purposefully and knowledgeably put biofuels into a flex fuel or other appropriate vehicle because we are committed to and sought out and purchased biofuels? Hands up, please. Full credit to you all. The rest of us are all profoundly embarrassed, and that will change in coming years. Second hand-raising moment. How many of us are actually in the business, overtly or covertly on a daily basis, of improving our places, of making where we live and what we do richer somehow? How many of us are working to improve North Carolina? Those two are not unrelated. And here's why. Changing a place, moving for the future, moving vision to reality is the hardest task we do. It's difficult to bring about in society. Certain key components yield ways to change the future. Sometimes, like smart people, smart places make good gambits for the future. And a number of years ago, the state of North Carolina committed by policy to gaining large internal capacity to spring from our land stuff that will be converted to liquid fuels, to gain large capacity, to gain alternatives to imported fossil fuel-based, recently Gulf oil, alarming, petroleum-based liquid fuels as a matter of sustained state policy. To bring that about, the state convened some smart persons. They fought together, and the state set up in order the Biofuel Center of North Carolina that I and my colleagues represent. The state also set up, in the way that smart places and smart persons do, a goal to which we all, increasingly all of us, will work, which is that by the year 2017, we expect and will work for and know that 10% of North Carolina's liquid transportation fuels will come from biofuels grown and produced in this state. 10% of 5.6 billion gallons will require that we, by the year 2017, produce 550 or 600 million gallons of liquid fuels in a state that last year produced just 2 million gallons of biodiesel. What an extraordinary goal this is. Further, some policy considerations were set up. We're going to gain our liquid fuels in the main from the triggering stuff called feedstocks or biomass that sprang from our land, and that by policy will not overlap with food yielding crops. By policy, North Carolina's biofuels endeavor is not based on corn. It will be based on the other stuff that springs from our land. Meeting this goal will be challenging, hard, bold, and not impossible. when will, resources, and policy work together over time. Meeting this goal will be place changing and landscape changing, actually, because we will look at and use our land in new and additive ways. Our land will be the source, as has actually been the case throughout most of human history, for not only our food and some of our other needs, but increasingly for our fuel as well. Our land will change. Meeting this goal will also be not actually but figuratively landscape changing, because when a state presumes to gain millions of gallons of fuels in a new endeavor, over time that state and all of us will necessarily have impact on science and research and technology, and companies, small or large, on production capabilities, on education, on training, on investment, on the environment, with implications for climate. We will have impact on sustainability, on renewability, on policy, on security, and on our ability to more easily function in the future. And we posit in particular, we will have impact on value to our military installations in North Carolina. Meeting this goal will require new thinking and new behaviors on all of our partnerships, because society does not change from a single vantage point. It changes from parties working together, from those who own land to those who do policy. Meeting this goal will also require extraordinary and unprecedented drawdown and use of the natural resources that spring from our land. Some of the resources can be gained from municipal solid waste or from algae, which has an indifferent positioning as being traditionally on our land. In the main, we are going to draw down on our crop and forest-based resources in unprecedented volume, and we must do so year-round in production facilities, and we must do so in ways that impel new thoughts and new behaviors about environmental responsibility and sustainability. Because no place draws down on the required resources to make 550 million gallons of anything without necessary full attention to sustainability. This is a mandate. We need a way of thinking to organize these years of thought and action, and it's essentially we're working with partners under the framework of technology development. Technology sprang from vision. I need some fuels. I want a cell telephone. I want a drug. And then they move through a series of steps, science and research, gaining the key components, in our case feedstocks for a drug, a protein, moving then through the use of those components to production, to distribution, to consumer behaviors, consumer changes, and then eventually to new outcomes, economic, fuel, strategic, and whatever. When this comes about, North Carolina will see manifest outcomes. Vision will move to reality. We'll have lots of fuel we didn't have before. We'll have to accommodate it into our system. Partnerships will be built. Farmers and landowners and foresters will have committed. They will have been verified that economic gain is possible. They will have been verified that the stuff springing from our land can go to a production facility. We will hear from some colleagues there. The fuels produced, biodiesel, ethanol, perhaps aviation, jet fuel, that is a goal, will be accommodated into the usage and need of North Carolinians. And when all of these steps are done, North Carolina will not only gain 550 million gallons of stuff it previously did not have, it will not only gain some security and the implementation of the policy, North Carolina will be changed. Because there's nothing less at hand here in biofuels than changing North Carolina. A new sector will be gained. How often do we have opportunity to create a new sector of impact on our land, statewide, with measurable economic, jobs, and community development all at hand? In his introduction, Mr. Solon represented what is a key goal of the Biofuel Center in North Carolina, working with the Military Growth Task Force in North Carolina's Eastern region, and we hope with appropriate military groups. A project called Eastern Gain, Biofuels Enrich Our Community's Economy and Security. This will be a sustained endeavor. It will take years. The sustainability also must have impact on our land, on our jobs, on our communities, on our economic development. It's hard as a North Carolinian not to end with a toast. We're all familiar with our state toast. So join me in recalling, here's to the land of the summer sun, here's to the land where the sun doth shine, here's to the land of the longleaf pine and other crop and forest-based resources that increasingly we'll be able to draw on and pridefully grow for conversion on our landscape to biofuels. Here's to the land.